You're boarding a flight to Phoenix. You hand your ticket to the flight attendant at the door. She smiles, says, "Welcome aboard," and you walk past. What you don't know is that in the 3 seconds it took you to pass through that door, she's already decided whether you're going to be the passenger she checks on all flight, or the one she avoids. And most of the time, that decision has nothing to do with your age. It has everything to do with what you do in the next 15 minutes. And I know what some of you might be thinking. I've been flying for 40 years. I know how to behave on a plane. And you probably do. But after 16 years working in that narrow metal tube, I can tell you the passengers who got the best service. The extra blanket, the heads up about the delay before it was announced. They weren't always the loudest, or the most loyal, or the ones in first class. They were the ones who understood a few very specific things about how flight attendants actually work. And most of them had no idea they were doing it. I'm Jess. I flew for 16 years with a major U.S. carrier. Long-haul international, transatlantic, some Asia-Pacific. I left at 37. I don't work for an airline anymore, which means I can tell you what I actually saw up there. Here's the truth. Senior passengers are often our favorites. You're more patient. You say thank you. You understand what it's like to work a long shift, but there's a small group, maybe 10 to 15%, who make mistakes that quietly frustrate every flight attendant on that plane. And most of them have no idea they're doing it. Like the passenger who waits until the door closes to mention they can't walk unassisted, or the one who treats the call button like a personal concierge service and presses it 6 times in an hour. Or the senior who mentions their 2 million miles in every interaction and wonders why the crew is avoiding them. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to tell you exactly what flight attendants notice, what we love, what drives us quietly insane, and the 5 specific things you can do to guarantee you're treated like the passenger we actually want on our flight. Not because you demanded it, not because of your status, because you understood how we work and made our job easier instead of harder. Let's go. Let's get started. First, the positives. Because contrary to what you might think, senior passengers are often crew favorites. Let me tell you what we actually notice. Seniors who are ready at boarding. You're standing in the jet bridge. The line is moving. You step up to the flight attendant at the door, and without fumbling, you hand over your boarding pass, your bag goes in the overhead without issue, and you're seated in under 30 seconds. That passenger just became a crew favorite before the door even closed. Flight attendants are on a brutal clock during boarding. We have maybe 25 to 35 minutes to get 180 people seated, bags stowed, safety checks done, and the door closed. Every passenger who boards smoothly buys us time. Every passenger who stops in the aisle to dig through their bag for their boarding pass costs us time we don't have. When a senior passenger is ready, phone out, pass visible, seat number memorized, we notice. It tells us you respect the process. And here's what most people don't realize. That respect changes how we treat you for the entire flight. When you get to your row, if your bag won't fit in the overhead, don't apologize or struggle. Just make eye contact with a flight attendant and say, "Would you mind gate checking this for me?" That's it. We'll tag it. It'll be waiting at the gate when you land. What not to say? "I don't know where my bag goes." Or, "Can you lift this for me?" We're not allowed to lift heavy bags. Liability. But we can check it in 10 seconds. I remember a man named Richard, maybe 75, gray hair, cardigan, flying Denver to London. He boarded in Zone 3, had his pass on his phone already pulled up. Walked straight to 18F. Bag went up, jacket folded, sat down. The whole thing took 12 seconds. I watched him do it and thought, I'm keeping an eye on this one. 3 hours into the flight, he called me over quietly and said, "When you have a moment, could I get some water?" Not during meal service. Not when I was strapped in for turbulence. When I had a moment. I brought him water and an extra snack from first class. That's what efficiency earns you. Now here's the thing I have to be honest about. We can't give everyone extra snacks, and we're not supposed to play favorites. But we're human, and when a passenger makes our job easier, we remember. Quick thing. If this is helping you see flying from the other side of the cart, subscribe. I post every week with information like this. The kind of stuff airlines won't tell you, but flight attendants know by heart. Okay, next. Seniors who pre-plan their medical and mobility needs. Let's say you have a CPAP machine, or you need a wheelchair from the gate to your seat, or you're traveling with liquid medication over 3.4 ounces. If you wait until you're at the gate to mention it, you've just created a problem that could have been solved 3 days ago with a 5-minute phone call. Flight attendants are not medical professionals. We're trained in first aid and CPR, but we cannot give medical advice, adjust your oxygen, or make decisions about whether you're fit to fly. That's not us being unhelpful, it's federal regulation. When passengers spring medical needs on us at boarding, we're now in a position where we have to radio the captain, call ground operations, possibly delay the flight, and all of this could have been avoided. The airline has an entire department dedicated to special assistance. They can pre-arrange wheelchair service, notify TSA about your medication, ensure your seat has access to an oxygen outlet. But you have to call them. They don't know you need help unless you ask. Before your flight, at least 48 hours ahead, call the airline's Special Assistance line. The number is on their website under Accessibility or Special Assistance. When you get someone on the phone, say this exactly. I require wheelchair assistance from check-in to the aircraft door. I also have a CPAP machine that I'll be carrying on as a medical device. The phrase medical device is key. It exempts that item from your carry-on count. The agent will note it in your reservation. When you get to the airport, that note follows you. TSA sees it, the gate agent sees it. We see it. I had a passenger once. Her name was Doris, maybe 82, flying Atlanta to San Francisco. She had called ahead. She needed a wheelchair, she was traveling with oxygen, and she had it all arranged. When she arrived at the gate, the agent already had her pre-board pass ready. The wheelchair attendant was waiting. I knew she was coming because her name was flagged in the system. I met her at the door, helped her get settled in her bulkhead seat where the oxygen outlet was, and she handed me a card with her daughter's phone number and said, "Just in case." That card told me she'd thought through every scenario. I checked on her 3 times that flight. Not because I had to, because I knew she was the kind of passenger who had done everything right. I'm going to be straight with you. Calling ahead doesn't guarantee perfection. Sometimes wheelchairs are late. Sometimes gate agents miss the note. But it gives you the best possible chance. And when something goes wrong, the fact that you planned ahead gives you leverage. You can say, "I called on Monday and spoke to Karen in Special Assistance. She confirmed wheelchair service." That's a lot harder to dismiss than, "I need a wheelchair." All right, this next one is even simpler. Seniors who say thank you when they deplane. The flight lands. You're gathering your things. You step into the aisle, walk toward the exit, and pass 3 flight attendants standing at the door. Most passengers walk right past without looking up. But if you pause for half a second, make eye contact, and say thank you, you just became one of maybe 30 people on a full flight who did that. By the time you deplane, we're exhausted. We've been smiling for 6 hours. We've cleaned up spills, handled passenger conflicts, served 200 drinks, and answered the same question 40 times. When passengers blow past us like we're invisible, it's demoralizing. But when someone, especially a senior passenger, stops, looks us in the eye, and says, "Thank you for your help," or "I appreciate you," it reminds us why we took this job. That passenger gets remembered. And the next time I see them on a flight, I recognize them. That recognition translates into better service. You don't need a script for this one. Just look at us and say thank you. Or, "I appreciate it." Or, "Have a good rest of your day." If you want to take it one step further, use our name. Our name is on a placard at the front of the cabin during boarding. "Thank you, Jess" means more than thanks. And one more. Seniors who understand that safety demos still apply to them. I know you've heard the safety demo 1,000 times. I know you could probably recite it yourself, but when the flight attendant is standing in the aisle demonstrating how to fasten a seatbelt, and you're reading your book, looking at your phone, or talking over them, We notice. And it doesn't feel good. The safety demonstration is an FAA requirement, but here's what most people don't realize. Every aircraft is different. The exits are in different places. The oxygen masks deploy differently. The life vest is in a different location. If you've flown on a 737 your whole life and now you're on an A320, the emergency procedures are not the same. We're not doing the demo to annoy you. We're doing it because in an actual emergency, the passengers who survive are the ones who knew where the exits were. There was a flight I worked. This was years ago. Dallas to Miami. Bumpy descent. We hit wind shear about 200 feet off the ground and the plane dropped. Not a crash, but a violent drop. Overhead bins popped open. People screamed. And you know who stayed calm? The passengers who had been watching the safety demo. The ones who knew their nearest exit was behind them. The ones who had their seatbelt fastened low and tight, like we'd showed them. The woman in 12C who had been on her phone during the demo panicked because she didn't know what was happening. The man in 12A who had been watching calmly pointed to the exit sign behind her and said, "We're okay. Door's right there." That's the difference. Look, I'm not saying you need to stare at us the whole time, but just glance up once or twice. Show us you know we exist. That's all we're asking. All right, that's what we love. Now let me tell you what we quietly dread. The I've flown 2 million miles authority complex. You board the plane. You see a flight attendant doing something. Maybe rearranging overhead bins, maybe asking someone to move their bag. And you step in and say, "I've been flying for 40 years, and that's not how it's done." Or, "I'm executive platinum, and I've never had to do that before." Here's the truth. Your status does not impress us. We see diamond medallion members, million milers, and executive platinums every single flight. Your loyalty to the airline is between you and the airline. It doesn't change our policies. It doesn't override federal regulations. And it definitely doesn't mean you get to correct us on procedures we were trained to follow. What actually makes you memorable is how you treat us. I have flown senators, CEOs, actual celebrities, and you know who I remember most fondly? The retired teacher in 32B who said thank you and asked me how my day was going. Not the executive platinum in 3A who complained about the temperature 6 times and name-dropped his status every time I walked past. I had a passenger once, I won't say his name, who told me within the first 10 minutes of boarding that he had flown over 3 million miles on this airline. He said it while I was helping another passenger stow a bag. He said it again when I asked him to put his seat upright for takeoff. And he said it a third time when I told him we were out of the breakfast sandwich he wanted. By hour 2 of that flight, every flight attendant on the plane knew his seat number, and we were avoiding him. Meanwhile, the woman sitting next to him in 4B, who said nothing about her status, quietly asked for a glass of water and said thank you. I appreciate it. I brought her an extra snack from first class. That's how it works. And look, I get it. You've spent decades earning that status. You've earned perks, but the perks are things like priority boarding, free checked bags, and upgrades. The perks are not, I get to treat flight attendants like subordinates. We're federally certified safety professionals. Treat us like it. Okay, that one probably stung a little. This next one is less about ego and more about safety. Passengers who wait until the door closes to mention mobility issues. The door closes. We're about to push back from the gate. And then a passenger in 28C raises their hand and says, "I'm going to need help getting to the bathroom during the flight. I can't walk on my own." That passenger just created a 15-minute delay and a cascade of problems that could have been avoided. If you cannot walk unassisted, federal regulations require you to travel with a companion or notify the airline ahead of time so they can arrange onboard wheelchair service. We cannot lift you. We cannot physically carry you. It's a liability issue and a safety issue. If you wait until the door is closed to tell us you need that level of assistance, we now have to make a decision. Can you fly safely on this aircraft? Do we need to deplane? Do we need to delay the flight to bring a wheelchair on board? These are questions that should have been answered at booking, not at 30,000 feet. When you book your flight, if you have any mobility limitations, even if it's just, "I can walk, but I need extra time," Call the airline and say, I have a mobility impairment, and I'd like to request wheelchair assistance and pre-boarding. Pre-boarding gives you extra time to get settled before the rush. Wheelchair assistance means someone meets you at the gate and helps you to your seat. These services are free. You just have to ask. I worked a flight once where a passenger, her name was Linda, maybe 78, waited until we were at cruising altitude to tell me she couldn't walk to the bathroom. She'd had hip surgery 2 weeks earlier and thought she'd be fine. But she wasn't. We didn't have an onboard wheelchair on that aircraft. I ended up having to ask 2 other passengers to help support her while I cleared the aisle. It was uncomfortable for her, stressful for me, and completely avoidable. If she had called ahead, we would have put her on an aircraft with an onboard wheelchair, seated her in a bulkhead row near the lav, and flagged her reservations so I knew to check on her. And I know some of you might be thinking, I don't want to be a burden. You're not. We want to help. But we can only help if we know ahead of time. Speaking of things we need to know ahead of time, passengers who treat flight attendants like on-call nurses. You're sitting in your seat. You press the call button, I come over, and you say, I have high blood pressure and a heart condition. What should I eat from the menu? Or, I forgot my medication. Do you have anything that could help? Or, does this rash look infected to you? Flight attendants are not doctors. We are not nurses. We are not pharmacists. We cannot give you medical advice. We cannot recommend foods based on your health conditions. We cannot dispense medication beyond basic over-the-counter options like aspirin or antacids. And even then, we're limited by liability. When you put me in a position where I'm being asked to make a medical judgment call, you're asking me to do something I'm not trained or legally permitted to do. If you have a medical emergency, we can radio for a physician on the ground. We can ask if there's a doctor on the plane. But we cannot diagnose you, and we cannot tell you what to eat, what to take, or whether you're okay to fly. If you have specific dietary needs based on a medical condition, call the airline before your flight and request a special meal. Say, I have a medical condition that requires a low-sodium meal. Can you arrange that for my flight? Most airlines offer cardiac-friendly, diabetic-friendly, and low-sodium options if you request them at least 24 hours in advance. If you have a medical question mid-flight, ask us to radio for medical consultation on the ground. We can do that. What we can't do is play doctor. I wish I could tell you we had more medical training. I really do. But the truth is, we have 72 hours of safety training and maybe 8 hours on first aid. That's it. If you're asking me a medical question, you're asking the wrong person. Now here's one that might surprise you. Passengers who block the aisle during beverage or meal service. The cart is in the aisle. You're in row 18. The cart is at row 10. You look up and think, I need to go to the bathroom. You stand up, step into the aisle, and start walking forward. You just blocked the only path through the cabin and stopped service for 150 people. The beverage cart weighs 300 pounds when it's fully loaded. It's 6 feet long. It takes up the entire aisle. When you stand up and block the aisle while we're mid-service, we can't move. We can't go around you. We can't back up the cart. You've just stopped the entire service until you sit back down or reach the front of the plane. And because we're on a schedule, we have to complete service before descent. Every minute you're in the aisle is a minute we're falling behind. If you need to use the bathroom, wait until the cart passes your row, or use the lav at the back of the plane before service starts. If you need something from the overhead, get it before service begins, or wait until service is done. If the cart is coming and you need to get up, just ask. Make eye contact with the flight attendant and say, I need to get to the restroom. Should I wait, or is there time to go now? We'll tell you. We'd rather guide you than have you stand up and trap yourself halfway down the aisle. And honestly, this one isn't about being rude. It's just about awareness. If the cart is out, stay seated. That's it. All right, now let me give you the flip side. Use the call button appropriately. The call button is there for a reason. If you need help, use it. But if you press it 3 times in an hour to ask for water, then a napkin, then to ask what time we land, You've now become the passenger I'm watching with exhaustion. The call button should be used when you need assistance you can't get yourself. You need help reaching the overhead bin. You need medical attention. You spilled something and need help cleaning it up. You need to alert us to a safety issue. If you need something that can wait, don't press the call button. Wait until a flight attendant walks past and say, "Excuse me, when you have a moment, could I get some water?" That phrase, "when you have a moment," is magic. Here's why. When you press the call button, it lights up in the galley and makes a chime. If I'm in the middle of something safety critical, securing the galley for turbulence, helping another passenger, preparing for descent, I now have to stop and respond to your call. If it's urgent, that's fine. That's what it's for. But if it's, "Can I have a Coke?" I'm frustrated because you could have asked me the next time I walked past. It tells me you're not demanding immediate service, and I'll prioritize you because you were respectful. If you need something urgent, you feel sick, you spilled something, you need help, press a button. And when I arrive, say clearly, "I spilled my drink and need help cleaning it up." Or, "I'm not feeling well, and I think I need to sit down." Clear, specific, and calm. "I spilled my drink and need help cleaning it up." Or, "I'm not feeling well and I think I need to sit down." Clear, specific, and calm. Look, I'm not saying don't use the call button. I'm saying use it for what it was designed for. We want to help, but we also have 180 other passengers. Help us help you by being reasonable. Okay, last one. And this one is the simplest and the most powerful. Pack your essentials in your personal item, not your carry-on. Your personal item, the bag that goes under the seat in front of you, is the only bag you have guaranteed access to during the entire flight. Now you have to unbuckle, walk back, dig through the overhead while the plane is moving, and hope you don't hit turbulence. Or worse, we're about to land and the seatbelt sign is on, and you can't get to your bag at all. Your personal item, the bag that goes under the seat in front of you, is the only bag you have guaranteed access to during the entire flight. Your carry-on might be gate-checked. It might be in a bin 10 rows away. It might be in a bin that's full and you can't open safely during turbulence. If something is essential, medication, phone charger, headphones, a book, snacks, your wallet, it goes in your personal item. Always. I had a passenger once, a woman in her early 70s, traveling alone to see her daughter in Seattle. We hit severe turbulence over the Rockies. Seatbelt sign went on. We were ordered to our jump seats. She pressed the call button. I unbuckled, walked over, and she was pale. She said, "My heart medication is in my bag. In the overhead. I need it." I had to make a decision. Risk opening the overhead during turbulence, or tell her she had to wait. I got her medication, but it required me to violate safety protocol, and if the plane had hit another drop while I was standing, I could have been seriously injured. If that medication had been in her purse under the seat, none of that would have happened. This one is on you. We can't remind you to pack smart, but I'm telling you now because I don't want to be in that situation again. Here's the through line in everything I just told you. Flight attendants are not servants. We're not hospitality workers in the traditional sense. We're federally certified safety professionals who happen to also serve you drinks. And the passengers who understand that, the ones who treat us like the skilled professionals we are, get better service. Not because we're playing favorites, but because kindness and respect make us want to go the extra mile. So let's recap fast. Be ready when you board. Pre-plan your medical and mobility needs. Say thank you when you deplane. Pay attention to the safety demo. Don't use your status as a weapon. Don't wait until the door closes to mention you need help. Don't ask us medical questions we're not trained to answer. Stay seated during service. Use the call button appropriately, and pack your essentials in the bag under the seat in front of you. You don't have to memorize all of this. Pick the 2 that apply most to your next flight and do those. That's enough. Look, you've earned the right to travel comfortably. You've worked your whole life. You've raised families, built careers, survived decades of flight delays and lost luggage. You know how to fly. I'm not here to tell you you're doing it wrong. I'm here to tell you that small shifts, being ready, being kind, being aware can change how you're treated in that cabin. And you deserve to be treated well. Before your next flight, do this. First, if you have any medical or mobility needs, call the airline's special assistance line 48 hours ahead. Second, pack your medication and anything essential in your personal item, the bag under the seat. Third, when you board, look the flight attendant in the eye and say good morning. And when you deplane, say thank you. That's it. 4 small actions. Flying after 60, 70, 80. It should feel like freedom, not an obstacle course. You just need to know how the people in that galley actually think, what we actually notice, and what makes us want to take care of you. Now you know. I'm Jess. Thanks for being here. There's another video up on screen now about the 7 things gate agents can do for you that most passengers never ask for, including seat upgrades, free rebooking, and priority standby. It's the conversation I wish I could have had with every senior passenger I ever flew with. Go watch it.